Hi, my name is Kristie Sivells. I'm the owner of Assisting Hands Home Care East Charlotte.
And how long have you guys been in East Charlotte?
We just opened in June of this year, so we've only been open for a little over 6 months now.
Wow, that's great. And
Yes.
tell us why you got into this business of home care.
It's a little bit of a long story, but to give you some background, my mother was diagnosed with dementia when she was 65. She had just retired. She had been a world traveler before, had plans to continue traveling, and those kind of got cut short. So my husband and I decided to bring her into our home and we cared for her. We both worked remote at the time, so we were able to care for her successfully, I would say, for about 5 years until she declined to the point where she was wandering and having hallucinations. And in my sleep deprivation, I made the decision to put her into memory care facility, which was nearby. But that ended up being a decision that I regretted almost immediately. Not judging anyone for the decisions they make with their loved ones. Everyone has to do what they have to do. But for me, it just felt not only was it institutionalized, it was also, I just couldn't imagine that's where she was going to spend the rest of her life in that place. And so, a long story short, incident happened there, and I decided that was my sign to bring her back home. And that's when I discovered caregivers. So we brought in two caregivers. It was a little awkward at first. I've never had anybody come into my home, a private person, but they knew what they were doing. They're certified and trained, and over time, they became extensions of our family. That was the best decision I made for her health care. And actually, one of the people came on to work with us when we decided to open our agency. So my husband and I decided to open an agency to help others that might be going through a similar situation that we went through, also help seniors live better quality of life as independently as possible, and help caregivers because oftentimes they're overlooked and they give so much, the ones who are really passionate about it. So we wanted to provide a family-like an agency where they could feel supported.
That is all so excellent. And I'm sorry that your mother has dementia, but what an amazing journey. And to be able to bring her home, that's hard. It's hard to have someone go to memory care sometimes, but it's also very hard to bring someone home because you're still dealing with a lot of things that it's hard to manage by yourself.
Absolutely. And
And
it's
so
one
were
of
you,
those things where most people don't understand it. It's a very hard journey to describe to friends or family what you're going through. So I even, when I'm talking to somebody on the phone who could be a potential client or their loved one, they're looking for care for their loved one, I always tell them, look, if you ever just want to talk, I'm here because I know how isolating it can feel. So it's been cathartic to me to try to help other people walk through their journey.
and you probably understand very well how family caregivers' health can be affected. You said you're sleep deprived.
Yes,
All of those things can make a family caregiver very sick very fast,
absolutely.
especially if they weren't already in really good health or maybe a little bit older, caring for an older parent. It's hard. It's hard work for sure. And
Absolutely.
we want to do the best thing for our mom and dad, but it is rough. So I'm so glad, though, that you all were able to open a home care agency in this area and that you will help hundreds and hundreds of families over the course of this career. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
So tell us now a little bit about your service area. Now I know you serve East Charlotte, but tell everybody what that kind of includes.
So that includes, we start a little bit south of University of North Carolina, Charlotte. So it's still a Charlotte area. It's for those who live in the area. Rocky River Road is pretty much the start of my territory. Then we go down into Mint Hill, which is where our office is located. We want it to be centralized in our territory. Then we go into Matthews, Stallings, and Indian Trail. So that all encompasses East Charlotte. And then anything east of East Charlotte we can also take care of as well.
Great. East of East Charlotte. So
Yeah.
that,
It's considered like Monroe and Midland for those who are familiar. There's some
yeah.
areas out there.
That's great. What a nice area for you to be able to. And is this where you grew up and have lived for a long time?
No, it's funny that you said that about it being a nice area. I grew up in Maine, born and raised in
Oh,
Maine,
wow.
but I've lived in the South long enough to be considered a Southerner. I've
Mhm.
lived here pretty much my entire adult life. But what's interesting is that there are two other territories And I won't go into all the logistics of it, but there was one territory in particular that's just north of Charlotte. That was the territory that I originally wanted, and I didn't get it. And then, as it turns out now, I wouldn't change my territory for anything. I love East Charlotte, the diversity. There's all ethnicities and all people from different walks of life, and I just find everybody to be very relatable. So I really, my favorite part of my job or my business is going and talking to family members here in this community. The community has been very welcoming, so definitely wouldn't change it for another territory.
That's wonderful. That is so great. I'm glad that you're happy where you are and that you're able to serve such a diverse community. Everyone needs to know what their options are.
Absolutely.
And if you've never been in the business, if you've never, had to have this tough conversation with an aging parent, it's
Yeah.
hard to know even where to start.
It's very overwhelming. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Financially, emotionally, it's a lot of overwhelm. I'm 54 years old. My mom is 75 and she's in good health. She does not need home care.
Yeah.
But for this example, I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and she lives in Western North Carolina. And let's just pretend she lives in East Charlotte, though. If she were to need care and I had no idea what was going on here, how does that process start when I call your office?
You and I would have a very lengthy discussion about your mom, not just about activities of daily living that she might need help with. Of course, that's important, but I think the biggest differentiator between my agency and other agencies is that I really look at what the client, the potential client, likes to do with their time. And that could be just as simple as whatever programs they like to watch on TV. But I have clients that are really into growing their tomato plants. I have clients who are into taking photographs, going out to parks, people who like to shop. It's really about providing the quality of life for the potential client. So that's where you and I would start with our conversation. And if you decided to continue on with our agency, one of my nurses, I have a nurse on staff who's been a nurse for going on 30 years now. She's fantastic, very personable. She would go out and do the assessment and that is free. That takes about an hour where they go over the safety of the home, medications, health history, and then develop a care plan for your mom. And then we basically go on to match up a caregiver based off what your mom would need.
That's great. Yeah. And so when the nurse comes out to the house, and how soon can care start once you have that initial assessment done?
That it could really start, I won't say the next day, only because it takes a little bit of time for
Mhm.
her to go home and develop a care plan and do the
Sure.
assessment. But once that's settled, I would say probably within 48 hours, care could begin.
That's very nice. That's quick. It is hard to, if you want to match the right caregiver to the client,
Yes.
there may be times when you could start care sooner if it's an emergency or kind of an urgent situation, but to really get somebody in there that is a good match and that's going to be there for a while, that consistency, it does take a couple days to get all that worked out.
It does, but again, one of my favorite parts of my job is when I'm on the phone with you talking about your
Mhm.
mother, I'm already thinking in the back of my head, oh, Jane would be really good for this.
Yeah.
I can tell that she would match well with your mom. I'm already like my wheels are turning. And then while excuse me, my nurse is going out to do the assessment, I'm contacting Jane as an example and seeing what her availability looks like, just so I can get the process moving if care is needed immediately.
That's great. Yeah, it's so nice to have a variety of staff. So you have matching someone who's a talker with a talker, or someone who's quiet with someone who's not a talker, or whatever it is, or hobbies, or someone who's go with the right caregiver. That's great. I love hearing that because it is so important that, especially if a senior is a little reluctant, it's so nice to have a good match walk in the door.
I
And
agree.
and when that person does walk in the door, when that caregiver comes to the home, are they coming for the first time and introducing themselves, or does someone come with them, or how do you guys do that?
Another great question.
Mm.
I like to be the one to make that introduction. If I cannot make the introduction, then I like my nurse to make that introduction. I think it can be a little bit awkward for both the client and the caregiver to meet each other like that without any introduction. So that's my
Mhm.
preference. It's a little bit more personable. And I think that works better for everyone involved.
Yeah, I like that too. I like it that someone actually accompanies them and it does that introduction. It's a nice icebreaker. It's a nice way
Yeah.
to get everybody familiar, show them around the house together, that kind of stuff. It's really nice. And I'm sure your great caregivers can handle it on their own if needed, but it's always nice to see that face again that you've already talked to or hear that voice you've already gotten to know a little bit,
Yes.
along with the caregiver. So that comes to this question, which is what do you look for in those caregivers? You had some great ones for your mom, but what do you look for when you're hiring a caregiver?
The first thing I look for when I'm interviewing the caregiver, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, would I trust you with my mother? And I'm an only child.
Me
So, oh, okay.
too.
I'm very close to my mother. I
Mhm.
was. She passed in May,
Oh.
but it's just one of those things where I always think to myself, would I trust you and could I leave you with my mother? The second
Mhm.
thing I look for is this a person who is just looking for work, I'll say temporarily, or is this something that they're passionate about? I am not faulting people for looking for work to pay their bills and get along in life, but I am really focused on the quality of the caregiver in the sense that I want them to have a passion for helping others. There are very specific questions that I ask in the interview, and there's specific answers that I'm looking for related to their passion because I don't want somebody who's just going to come in, do those ADLs, medication reminders, meal preparation, and then just check them off and maybe stay on their phone for the rest of their shift. I want somebody who's making a connection with the client, playing games with, I have one in particular that I'm thinking right now. She plays games with her. She listens to music with her, introduces her to new music that the client didn't even listen to before. And
Mhm.
they have bonded in a way that I'm like, that's what I got into this for. So I'm looking for somebody who wants to make a bond and is going to go out of their way to build a relationship with the client.
It really is a calling, I think, to be a caregiver. You know that better than anybody else right now because it's not easy work. And it can be very joyful. It can be an easy day, but being a caregiver professionally is definitely, I think, a calling. And I've heard a lot of our clients say, while they can teach a skill, they cannot teach someone to have compassion. So I
It's a
know
very
you
good
can
way to put it.
right. You can teach them how to use maybe a Hoyer lift or some other,
Right.
maybe not that, but some you can teach little things, but you can't teach somebody how to really feel that this is their calling and it's in their heart to care for others. So it's good to hear that. And coming from you who has just, this is fresh for you. This is not something that happened a long time ago or even 2 years ago. This is a right now thing. Your memory is very fresh with all of this, better than anybody how to look for a great caregiver. You're right in it. So that was great. And I'm sorry that your mother passed. But on the other hand, I don't know. I think about from my parents' perspective, I just don't want them to linger or suffer, or I want them to be happy. So
Yes. I
whatever I
think
can do.
I think that's the worst part. And I find that I relate to a lot of family members, usually children who are looking for care for their parents about that because you don't want to rush it. But at the same time, it's okay. How do I navigate this, especially when it comes to dementia? And there are all kinds of chronic
Mhm.
illnesses that people are dealing
Oh,
with their loved ones. But
yeah.
just for me personally speaking, it with dementia, it's difficult because you end up grieving them twice. You're
Yeah.
grieving them while they're disappearing little by little, and then when they finally do pass, you grieve again. And it's definitely a very difficult journey, and I don't wish it upon anyone.
Yes, absolutely. And I know there's lots and lots of movement right now in the research areas for this. And
Yeah,
we can only hope that in our lifetime that they find something to either stop it, slow it, or do a better job than what we currently have on the market. So,
I
yeah.
pray for the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think a majority of your clients probably will have some form of memory loss, need a little memory care, maybe not full on dementia, but when I'm 85, if I forget what time to take my medicine,
Right.
then okay. So I'm 85, I'm allowed to forget.
That's right.
But having some reminders, having somebody there so that I don't have to drive or feel like I have to drive,
Yeah.
those are the kinds of things that I just the little things. It doesn't have to be full on dementia. It could just
Right.
be needs a little help around the house, wanting to make sure that dad gets a real meal every day
Yes.
and not just fast food or a microwave meal or that he leaves the stove on or forgets or something. It can be anything from a little bit to a whole lot of care. And so tell me, or tell all of us, let's talk about hours. This is a big question that families have. They don't know it until they start going down this road. Do you have a minimum on your hours? It's always good to know that.
I did start with 4 hours minimum, but then I discovered that a lot of people, they just want to test it out for a little bit and see
Yeah.
if it works. And I understand that. I get it.
Mhm.
I've been through it. So I've changed it to a 2 hour minimum.
Nice.
And obviously we go anywhere up to 24-hour care. So that's how it
Well,
works.
I think it's important for people to understand that it's not, you want to make them happy. And I think easing into it is a great way to put it. Just having someone be there once in a while. And eventually, if things are working well,
Right.
mom or dad is looking forward to that 2 hour visit. And then maybe it's a 4 hour visit. And then maybe it's a 6 hour visit. So that's a great way to put it. But also, you're trying to also satisfy your caregivers' work schedules and give them enough hours and in the same location and all the things that go with staffing too. So we're trying to be good to our caregivers and also very good to our and malleable for our clients on the hours. I can see that because
It's definitely a balancing act.
yeah, absolutely. And I know that you told me in the beginning that how you treat your caregivers is important. And talk a little bit about that family environment that you wanted to create for caregivers.
I think the biggest thing that I look for or offer to the caregivers is communication. And that might seem
Mhm.
small, but it's not. And with the feedback that I've gotten from my caregivers, that's really what they want. They want to know that they're not just going out and doing a job because there's a shift to be filled. I like to have conversations with them and I like updates from them. So it's almost like we're building a relationship as well. They have very easy access to me as the owner. We are a family-owned agency, so my husband and I own the agency. Our daughter, she is our care coordinator.
Oh,
So she
wow.
works in the office, but we had her get certified as a nursing assistant. So she's a CNA and she will go out and cover shifts if and when somebody's sick, to the point where I've actually had clients say, I want her to come back, which is great.
I
She's
would
a wonderful
too.
person.
You, she has two bosses. She has a mom and a
That's,
boss. I want your
yes.
daughter to take care of me.
So it's one of those situations where it might be family owned, but I think that provides more of a family feel for the caregivers, and they know that they can contact any one of the three of us whenever there's an issue or they just need to discuss something with us.
It's great that you're there for your caregivers because without them, there would be no home care agencies
That's
at
right.
all. We need those people who feel that calling to feel comfortable in their work environment and feel like they are appreciated. And communication is like 101. And it's amazing how they don't feel appreciated or communicated with.
It is.
And that's unfortunate. It was really, I'm a nurse by trade, and I can
Oh,
remember different, yeah, different managers, different over the course of my nursing career. Sometimes you were just a body, even though you had all the credentials, you were just a body. And sometimes to the employer, you were more like a family member and everyone was very considerate. And that's what we all want. We just want to be appreciated and we want to work hard for the right people.
yes, I agree.
That's great. So, any last words you'd like to tell us about your agency or anything coming up, anything new?
Um,
Holidays are upon us.
I would like to say, I just want to point out when you gave the example of you calling and looking for service for your
Mhm.
mom since you don't live locally. We do use a system that allows for family members who you can be local or you can not be local, but you're able to go into the system and see all the care notes
Great.
that the caregivers leave. And I find that a lot of family members really enjoy that feature because they're able to just keep track of what's happening with dad on a daily basis. And that
Mhm.
gives them a lot of comfort. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Absolutely. I'd be all over that app. I would
Yes.
definitely want to know every day what's going on if I could not be there every day. So that's great. I know a lot of family members, especially those, even if they're local, but they work full
Yeah,
time and they can't be home all day, being able to see that is worth $1 million for sure.
I think so too.
Yeah, 2026 is going to be a great year and your community is going to be, it is already, but I'm sure, but so thankful to have you all there. So thank you for talking to us.
Yes, thank you so much.